I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing. Member Purdy's going to open us with prayer.
Heavenly Father, I thank you for the time that we have tonight. Thank you for the country that we live in and the freedoms that we have. Help us to cherish them and never lose sight of them and make them forefront in our minds. Help us to be wise as we determine the way to utilize the town's resources. Give us your wisdom and your courage to do the things that need to be done. It's in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from July 1st?
Motion to approve the minutes from July 1st.
We have a second.
I'll second.
Second by John Purdy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5 affirmative. We need a motion to approve and ratify the fund report and docket.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by John Purdy.
Second.
Second by Chad. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5 affirmative. Okay, old business. We are going to start off with kind of a review of the golf cart ordinance. Everybody has received a report from Chief Joe that we had asked for last month, where he went through and checked with some other municipalities, things like that. Question I have is, I know somebody else mentioned that they did not get anything from Joe. I don't remember getting it, and we're trying to figure out if we have a glitch somewhere.
I don't think I got it.
Okay.
I don't remember getting
So yeah, nobody seems to have it, so it's something on, I think, on your end as far as the transition, so.
Funny thing is, we got one of
Lee did.
So please,
them on purpose.
Okay. I'll tell you what, after tomorrow sometime,
I'll get it figured out.
just send something out to us tomorrow, blanket,
Okay.
and let's see if we get it, and it may be fixed. But, I'm gonna kind of let you just discuss this a little bit if you want to.
I've got a big agenda tonight, so I'm just gonna kind of brief over it real quick. What I did was, I got a composite of everybody else's around the areas, the policies that they had on that. And so what I come up with is there's definition that goes along here on your first page. And you go on down to the golf cart operation, and it's got things that's been going to be prohibited and the way that it's supposed to be operated on the public streets. If you flip over to the next page where it says operator requirements, now this is something that's going to have to be important in order for us to be able to enforce anything with the golf carts. So on the second page, A, it says operator golf cart must meet the same requirements for operating a motor vehicle found in Indiana IC code, blah, 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 including but not limited to having a driver's license and proof of financial responsibility. So those are two key things that we got to have, along with the registration, which comes on down. In B, it says here that they got to be 16 years old. Now, I'm going to skim over this, but the copies I gave you, you can take home and look at them and digest them, and then if you got any questions or anything, or any changes that you want to be made, let us know. On C, it says a town street, the driver shall meet all licensing requirements to drive on the street and obey traffic laws and ordinances, yield the right of way to all pedestrians and bicycles. On E, they're going to place valid registration permit decals on the fenders of the vehicle. I want one in the front and one in the back. If my officers are going toward the oncoming golf cart, they'll be able to see a registration sticker. If they're behind it, they'll be able to see a sticker. So there'll be 2 per golf cart, just for the officer's convenience. We go on down, and this is important too, on F. An operator shall have no more than the number of passengers for which the golf cart was originally designed to accommodate, and no more than 5 passengers in the golf cart. The maximum number of individuals, including the operator and passengers, in any one golf cart shall be 6, so it can't go above that. We don't want a bunch of people on holidays and stuff hanging off off the sides of them, falling off in the street, and getting hurt, or falling out in traffic. That's the reason for that. Safety equipment, we got headlights, brake lights, turn signals, rear view mirror, slow moving vehicle sign that conforms to the provisions of the IC code fixed to the rear of the car, a horn, and if you flip on over to the third page, seat belts, restraint system for a child under 3 years old. So if they got a baby in there and it's under 3 years old, they need to have a car seat and it needs to be buckled in. Now, I know there's a lot of provisions on here that we're making, but it's for safety. And that's why I want you guys to look it over. If you go on down to the second highlighted area where it says approved for operation, I did put down there on C. If you go down to C, it says it's restricted and prohibited for them to operate on US Highway 31. And then D says golf carts are permitted to only cross Highway 31 at a signalized intersection in the path perpendicular to the highway listed in subsection C, which I think we talked about that in our last meeting. Registration, I'm going to leave this up to you guys. Whatever the town thinks that the registration fee should be, it'll be an annual fee. I wouldn't care if we went up to 2 years of a fee for registration on it, but I'd like to see that the registrations go toward the LECE fund, which is Law Enforcement Continuing Education. The funds, I mean, there's not going to be all that much, but it would help offset our stickers that we're going to get. Also, on the last page, number of penalties. Any violation of this chapter shall be issued to the driver of the golf cart or the owner as indicated on the registration of the permit if the operator is under 16 years of age and result in the following penalties. First offense, $150. Second offense, $250. Third offense and each subsequent offense, a $500 fine and revocation of the registration permit. If we go through and the first offense of the violation concerns the golf cart being unregistered, and the second offense occurs of the cart being unregistered, we're going to impound it. We're not going to impound it the first time, but the second time we will. They had one opportunity to get it taken care of, they did. And we're not being mean, we just got to get compliance, okay? So, if you guys will look that over, that'll be great, but here's what I'd like you to do too. Assistant Chief Brooks has a couple registration forms to fill out and safety things. Lee looked them over. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Looked them over, and he said they were very thorough. So he'll just skim over. He got copies too, if you guys look at also. Any questions?
These are just kind of rough drafts. The top sheet is an application, and the following, I believe, 3 sheets. It's kind of an inspection form that officers or whatever officer we deem in charge will go over. And if there's any input you guys need to change on this, just let us know. It's not that. Nothing set in time for us. So just name of the drivers, who they are, golf cart information. We need to make sure that we get their insurance company and we're physically verified that there's an insurance card on the policy. Make sure it's still, it's good that it's not expired or anything like that. Of course, the applicant will then sign this, turn it into us. We will then go to their house, just like we would for a bin inspection or anything like that, and just run through the next 3 pages with them. Make sure that everything is up to date within the state statute that they have. Lights, flashing lights, turn signals, brake lights, everything like that's working. You know, that they have a horn, slow moving vehicle emblem, maybe the orange triangle on the back. And then once everything gets approved, we get final inspection from the chief, signs off on it, and we hand them the stickers, and they're good to go from there. So, like I said, these are just forms for you guys to look over. If there's any changes you want to make, more happy to. This is just kind of a draft that I came up with, just to try to help streamline anything that we do.
So is your intention, if I have a golf cart and I call in, say, hey, I need to have my golf cart registered.
Yeah.
So you guys will come to the house and do that?
Yeah.
One thing I would like to see us do is you have the discretion of when
Okay,
Because a lot of these people are gonna be, well, I called yesterday, why don't I have my stickers?
yeah,
Let's give them a time and a day.
okay, yeah, that makes sense.
That's subject to change because you guys actually have other stuff to do.
Yeah,
But I think if we set it more as an appointment, okay, we can be there at 4 o'clock
Yeah.
Friday afternoon.
and that's what we've talked around, maybe just having one officer responsible for that, and then
I think
he
that'd be,
sets up the schedule to do it. So.
yeah. What other questions you guys got? I forget where I read yesterday, but somebody, one of the municipalities in the county, might be Franklin, is doing 2-year at $100. Sounds a little high to me, but again, it's a convenience and it's a benefit. So, you know, if you want the privilege, but that's something we'll kick around.
Well, that's something for you guys to decide on.
Yeah.
Not us. So, and if you look at that page, it's blank, just
Yeah.
however you guys wanna charge for it. It's fine.
If we opted to put that towards the LEC fund, is there a reason why we could not?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And I like the idea of the front and the back. When I had mine even over to the campground, okay, and this is private property, they required it. If you didn't have it front and back to where if you're out and somebody, you know, somebody running the campground knows you're supposed to be there. We had numbers and it was required, or they would park your golf cart, so.
Yeah, the stickers will be numbered to the individual.
Yeah.
So.
What kind of a time frame are we looking at to where we could have stickers available?
Across the street from us, I've already checked with the print shop over there, Print Works, and they can get them in a couple weeks. They make them already for Franklin,
Okay,
so that they're readily available within a couple weeks.
so if at the next meeting we were to approve this, by middle of September, people could actually start registering?
Correct.
Or, no, don't we have to do,
2 readings.
Well, if you could do it one if you wanted.
okay, so at least by middle of September, so people still have part of the summer if they wanted to. Okay, other questions?
You know, you guys are looking at this saying, if we do it, here's how we'd like it to work.
Correct.
What do you think about doing it as law enforcement officers, just the people that have to respond to accidents and things of that nature? Would you like to see this happen, or would you rather it didn't?
I really don't mind it. I don't think there's as many people that wants to do it as we thought in the beginning. We can do it by trial and error. Other communities are doing it, so I don't see where it would be a burden for us. I'm not gonna say that accidents aren't gonna happen. I'm just saying that it's another duty that we can perform, and this is an outline as to what, it'll make it easier for us.
Sure.
With these restrictions that we have on it, to limit, hopefully, anything that would happen that would be careless or anything. So I really don't know how to answer that properly without saying that we just tried, it's new to us. I've been here 20 years and this is new to me.
Sure.
So on the registration, so do I have to be on it if I ride John's?
No.
Okay.
You have to have a driver's license.
Yeah.
Right.
And you gotta be over 16.
Yeah. But it had a list of drivers' names, so I didn't know if
Well,
you
no,
want to.
what we could do, let's say you got a family and you got a kid that's 16. You can put your name, your wife's name, girlfriend, whatever, and your kid's name, as long as they're 16 years of age.
And have a license.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't be just 16, they gotta have a driver's license.
Yeah.
So I think if I understand what you're asking, if he's legal
If he
and he
mows-
wants to come and borrow my golf cart,
Yeah.
Yeah,
he can't, there's no issue if he got pulled over, well, you're not allowed to drive this because it's not yours.
No,
It's no different than you using my car.
it's
Yeah.
registered to you. If he wants to drive it and you give him permission, that's fine. However, he has to obey all moving
Yeah.
traffic laws. He'll get
Exactly.
the
Okay.
ticket.
But why is it registered like the whole family have to be on it if just one person in the family has to be?
sometimes say a 16-year-old kid has it, we don't know if it's the actual son or son's friend that has it. And he might not be licensed, at least we can go back and check if he's part of the family that's supposed to be on it. Or we can contact the person.
You just want the family kind
Yeah,
of,
is this
okay.
person allowed to have your golf cart type thing?
My suggestion would be not to loan it out.
Well, he leaves his garage unlocked, so.
But that's,
You do?
How much trouble would it be? Because I'm starting to see more and more of this in my neighborhood. To have language that says that if we allow this, this doesn't change anything else. You can't have mini bikes, you can't have go-karts. Because well, the way the ordinance was written, it said side-by-sides.
You did.
And I don't think, at least I don't think any of us here want side-by-sides. That's a whole
I
different
was just
animal.
gonna ask that question because those have become so popular and
Oh,
so many
yeah.
people have them.
And they'll run 60 miles an hour.
Well, I know,
And
but so will your passenger car. I mean, that's why we have speed limits, I guess.
What's the
But
difference?
that's a decision to make, and I guess it wouldn't do any harm to put in language that says this doesn't authorize go-karts, mini bikes, side-by-sides, all that other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's certainly, it's a strained argument for anyone to assert that it would work to authorize anything else, but it doesn't do harm to include those
But
words.
somebody will question it. Well, you didn't specifically say I couldn't do this.
I
And again,
suppose
that's
they might.
becoming more and more.
And you want to head them off the pass.
I got some words and verbiage in there. And
Oh.
it's on the first page, it says golf carts,
Yeah.
it's got the definition of it, and then I go on to say, for golf clubs, the purpose of playing golf or a game of golf on a golf course, other off-road vehicles such as go-karts, quad sports, and side-by-side type vehicles are strictly prohibited and are not allowed in this definition. Now, the reason being is with golf carts, it starts out with, it's got 4 tires. Well, so does the side-by-side, so does the quad runner.
Yeah.
So I tried to eliminate some of that, but that was verbiage and language that was in some of the others that I took.
Well, there is a statutory definition of golf cart,
Okay.
right, and there is a side-by-side, so we can point at the version of the ordinance we have, and in fact, the one we have had sets out those definitions. I guess my point on side-by-sides is, I don't know whether it's your goal to make everybody happy or to sort of authorize the use of vehicles that people already have or want to have. And I don't know how prevalent it is that side-by-sides are also authorized. And I suppose if you don't, and then there's an outcry about, well, we'd like that to be added, you can take that up there. I get they're a different creature than a golf cart.
Yeah.
But in any case, you are setting a set of rules that everyone has to abide by. And one of those is you can't exceed the speed limit, whether you're capable of it or not, so.
I think DNR, it says there's only, side-by-sides, only certain county roads, what they define that.
But you can authorize it with a local ordinance if
yeah,
you want to.
yeah.
In the absence of that, you're right.
Because Edinburgh just did last month.
Yeah.
They started with golf carts, and that if we do this, that's what I'd like to see. You know, start with this. If there becomes a big outcry, well, 50 people have side-by-sides and they would like to have them, okay, then we look at it at that point. But yeah, Edinburgh just changed theirs last month where they.
I mean, I got them and I don't think.
Well, Morgantown and Princess Lakes allow
Yeah.
them.
Do they?
I know they're different kind of communities than New Island, but they do, yeah.
Any other questions?
This country.
Okay.
It's more
Yeah.
country than here.
Is
Sure.
everybody okay with putting this on the agenda for next month? And we just do a yay or nay and we put this to bed?
Yep.
Okay, all right.
One quick question.
Yeah.
For you guys, but specifically for you, Joe, has any of the ordinances that you've seen, does it limit the months of operation? Or is it,
No, we talked about that, and you like during snow or
Yeah.
heavy rain or something. No,
okay? Okay.
we did visit that, but we decided to leave up to discretion of the.
Okay.
So Angela, if you'll add that for next month, please. Let's see. Next we have the E&B paving.
Yeah, so, John, I know you are aware of some emails exchanges between Lee and Steve Berlman from E&B, but I'll get everybody else up to speed. After the executive session that we had, in discussion of revisiting the numbers that we would go after for liquidated damages, we reached out to Steve, or actually Lee reached out to Steve, and a couple conversations back and forth. There was some small rebuttal from E&B in the form of throwing out the argument for state standards, or things like that. But ultimately, they did agree that it was their fault. They messed up. Took ownership to it, so I do appreciate that. He has offered a dollar amount to the town council. The dollar amount is $51,500 in liquidated damages. After doing the calculations and things like that, based off of conversations with Lee, I am satisfied with that number, and if Lee, you want to chime in anything, but I'm asking that you approve the liquidated damages at $51,500, and that way we can get E&B and the CCMG project closed out for this project.
And I was thinking that I may have sent an email out to all of you that tried to explain the ranges of the liquidated damages. Dwayne had done a calculation of what the, back up a little bit, we got to a point at the end of last year where they couldn't work anymore because the weather got so cold, and then the plants were closed. And then we spilled over into spring, and then at the point that the plants were open again, they came back and finished. And the idea sort of was, do we want to have those liquidated damages running against them during a time of year when they can't do anything anyway? And there is an NDOT specification on liquidated damages that pauses those during that time of year when the plants are closed. And I think that is from December 31st to March 31st, where if you're subject to the NDOT specs in all respects, including damages, you couldn't collect them during that period of time. And to Dwayne's point, he did kind of point us to that. Anyway, what we were trying to do was sort of figure what the damages would be if we didn't charge them for that period of time when it wasn't possible to advance the project. There also is a requirement in NDOT spec that the road has to be open, and ours was, right? And so the range was somewhere from about 50,000 to about 107, somewhere in that range, depending on whether we took the earliest date they should have started and the date we kind of accepted as the date they should have started based on when they got the notice to proceed and everything. And so we volleyed that back and forth a bit and ended up landing on that number because it did sort of align itself with the number of days that the project was actually delayed and within their control. We also talked when we met in executive session about the purpose of liquidated damages, and they are to compensate the town for what it actually suffered in the way of losses or expenses as a result of this project not being done. Not really meant to be penal, although it is wired into agreements to incentivize contractors to get things done on time. In reality, the road did stay open through the winter. It inconvenienced some of your constituents, but it was a usable road during that period of time. So we pitched this number. E&B has agreed to accept it. It's before you now to decide whether that number is acceptable to you. If so, then we can kind of conclude this matter. If not, then we need to keep working at it to try to get a number that you all agree with.
Questions, comments?
And I'm trying to remember, I'm scrambling here to find what I thought was an email that I sent to all of you, sort of setting out what we were doing with with E and B, but I'm not sure. I'm doing a search for it. Does that ring familiar to any of you? Okay.
Oh,
Other than back when it first came up last year.
it's in the same place Joe's is.
I was gonna say, based on.
Well, I'm not sure I sent one, John. I'm really not.
Well, let me start with Dwayne. Are you satisfied with? And side note or side question, are you satisfied with E and B at this point? That you would entertain using them again if they were low bidder?
There would definitely have to be some hard stipulations set forth if the contract was signed. The communication side of it was absolutely terrible. I mean, absolutely terrible. Regardless of whether they took on more than they could handle. The project manager that they had assigned to it, I think was on the job site, 5 times out of that entire duration.
Probably 4 of those were spot our request.
Yeah, so, I would have to think long and hard about accepting their bid again. That's for a few years.
Okay. And kind of my thought on it was after Lee explained to us how we can impose liquidated damages and how we can't impose liquidated damages. I think this is a very fair number, considering they could fight it and get it reduced a whole lot more.
So are you making a motion to?
Oh, unless there's somebody else that has comments, questions? Yes, I will make a motion to accept the offer from E&B Paving for $51,500 so that we can close this all out.
So that, if you look at the reading of the contract and the rules and everything else, that's really the minimum the number could be, is that? And that gives them the grace of not starting on time, but we start from the day they actually started.
It's not necessarily the minimum, I don't believe, but I do feel it is a meet in the middle number, because there's some things that we have to take into consideration too, because if we go through and say we charge the $106,000 in liquidated damages, they may choose to fight it a little bit more, which then once we close out the CCMG stuff, the way all that works is at that time, if they choose to fight it, by the time litigation and all taking place, we may lose qualification for next year's operation of CCMG funding. So I don't want to cut our nose off to spite our face.
I'm just asking a question. I've got confidence in you. You've been involved in every one of the conversations and you're satisfied.
Yeah.
I don't think I've really got a reason not to be.
Well, and I think the idea that, before we met exec session, I had forwarded to you an email that where Dwayne had done the calculations on what the damages could be and set the range. And the most that we could have collected based on that was 118. If we use the later date on which they were to start work, it was 106. You know, there really isn't a minimum. The contract sets $500 a day. I mean, it doesn't set a range, it just starts.
The nature of my question was more, if you assume we give them the grace at the start date, when they actually started, the months we can't count in the winter.
Yeah.
That number would be 50, wouldn't it? Is that?
Yeah, that gets us pretty close to forgiving the damages during that period of time when they really were powerless to do anything.
Yeah. Well, like I say, you've been neck deep in it. If you're satisfied, I'm not sure I've got a reason not to be.
And Dwayne makes a good point that's really important. I'm glad he thought to mention it, that we do need to close this out, and it could affect our eligibility as we apply for grants going forward. And so
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Did you get that, Angela?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5 affirmative.
I want to ask you too to authorize a related matter. So E&B, we will have E&B issue an invoice for the total contract sum minus the liquidated damages. There was also an adjustment to the contract of around about $10,000 for a change in the scope of the work that actually reduced the contract amount. We need them also to issue a change order to document that reduction in the contract sum. We don't have it now. Kind of part of this dance we did with him was, if you will agree to an amount of liquidated damages, we'll see to it you get paid here pretty quickly. Because they are owed the $1 million they're owed, and they've been pretty, I don't know, I guess we could say they've been pretty patient about getting paid, except the reason they're not being paid is because problems that they brought on themselves, right? But in keeping with the dialogue and all that kind of stuff, and we owe them the money, right? And we do want to close this thing out. What I'd like to ask is a motion to authorize payment to E&B of the amount to which they're entitled, the full contract sum, adjusted by the change order amount, adjusted by liquidated damages, authorize John to sign the change order that will be coming, and authorize Angela to pay them the adjusted amount to which they're entitled based on that sort of formula that I just laid out. So we don't have to wait until we have another docket approved in order to conclude all of this. Is that all right? Makes sense?
Do you want to change your motion and I'll still second it?
Well, no, you approve that motion. This would just be a second motion to
Okay.
authorize payment as I've just explained.
Yes, I make a motion for what Lee said.
Second.
Well, I mean, we'll have it on the record, and it's all right to do that because, but we want to get these folks paid, and
Yep.
we want to be done.
Chad seconded.
Change orders I should have it tomorrow. I emailed them earlier this
Okay.
second.
Okay.
Had a motion by Dennis and a second by Chad. Other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5 affirmative.
Thanks. That's good. Okay.
Bids for I&I.
Alright, so I'll get some copies here for you and we can get it together to get it emailed, so. So, if you remember right, we did, some study work up there in the Rain Tree subdivision, looking for I&I. And,
Sure. I like I&I. Oh, actually, I hate I&I, don't I?
This is the project that we basically put out for quotes and opened those quotes. I believe it was June. Let's see, it was June 5th, I believe, that we opened those. And this would take care of all the priority ones that were found during that study. Let's see. SAK Construction is who was the low bidder. They were at $180,176. I had budgeted $100,000 in my I&I and then plan on taking the other 80 out of the capital improvements. Out of, I guess, the line repair item in that. So it is in the budget. Really, we're just wanting to get the, I guess, notice of award signed tonight. And like I said, that would go to SAK Construction. Any questions, comments?
You said you had 100 budgeted. Where's the other 80 gonna come from?
So it's in my budget, it's just in a different line item in my capital improvement.
Okay.
Line item. I have a line item that is strictly for I&I, and then I've got that capital improvements that you can dig into as well. So as I put in money in it for just line repair and infrastructure repair, so.
How much you put in that fund on an annual basis, roughly?
Into the capital
Capital
improvements, well, I think it's around 100 and.
So actually, 500,000 was put in there in 2018 and nothing was put in since.
Well, but in my budget line item of capital
Yeah.
improvements, the 451, I believe it is, I think it's roughly 100, ranges anywhere from about 125 to 134,000.
Right, Right.
and things like that. And it's based off of, I do a capital improvements list that I give you with my budget and all that
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. And it's based off of that.
So how much is in that fund right now?
If I were to guess, we still have a cap. Bob Reynolds and I had a big discussion about this last Friday. So, because with the utility, you just wanna make sure you keep 2 to 3 months of operating expenses at a time. And what we've been doing, like he said, he has that amount every year in that line, and it's just been staying there.
But 2 to 3 months isn't $500,000. So I mean, there's a fair amount there, and you're putting a fair amount in.
So the way it works, and hopefully I'm answering your question right. So every year I put that, well, I was to say $134,000 in my budget. I could spend out of there based off of what is in my capital improvement schedule. If I go to purchase something that is on that list or do work that is on that list, I can pull from that. Whatever is left over, we're supposed to transfer into this other account. It really hasn't been happening other than the first year or two whenever we started, because there's a separate, is it appropriation, is that the right word? Separate account. It's like 6209 or, yeah, a whole separate fund.
Bob Reynolds is gonna try to get me straight on this because, like I said, it was set up, money was put in it. He said the way we're doing it is okay.
So back in 2018, when we did the rehab project, then that was part of the SRF loan. We had to set up a capital improvements fund. We had to have, I think at that time it was, I think $500,000 had to be put in it at that time. And then what we've been doing, or what we're supposed to be doing at the end of each year, whatever is left over in that, I think it's 451 in my normal budget, it's supposed to be then transferred into that account. I think the last time I looked, there was it $299 or
Was it
three
sewage
something?
utility capital improvement 6204?
That sounds about right.
$243,241.
So that would be where line item from my normal budget of 451. That money would go transfer to that account at the end of the year. It's kind of almost like we'll call it a savings account for
Right.
future purchases. Because that's on my capital improvements, I schedule out, for replacement of trucks, replacement of just different piece of equipment pumps. And we set aside money out of that every year. That's where that 451 is. And then if I don't spend it, then we can transfer it at the end of the year to go into that account.
So this is 80 out of the 130 or whatever you put in.
Yeah, and we're not touching any of that 62
Right.
go forward.
Does that leave you enough? I realize you can't predict what's going to break, but you're comfortable with that much for the rest of the year?
I don't have any issues with it, especially we're in August. I mean, obviously if something catastrophic were to happen, maybe, but we've got other means to take care of that. So.
And just out of dumb curiosity, a question you probably can't answer, what kind of reduction would you expect to see out of that part of the system because of this work? Just ballpark.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know that I have a real way to give you I think I'd be lying to you. I would just be throwing it at a wall hoping it's safe, to be honest with you. I can tell you in other projects that we've done on our priority ones, and most of it was, I guess manhole rehabilitation, lining of those. We were sitting about, I think 79, 83% capacity at the time, and I got it all the way down to 50-some%. So we made a huge change, but that was a big project throughout all of town.
Yeah.
30% is what if you're lining main lines and manholes, 30-35%. If you want to get this laterals and stuff, you get a little bit more, it migrates. If you stop it from coming into the main lines, it moves up.
Right. It's impossible to say, but it ought to be meaningful.
That sounds like
that would be my hope. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's still, I think in that study, I think it comes out with the priority twos, I think there's $400,000 estimated for that type of work. And that'll be stuff, I don't plan on doing anything into next year. But moving from my 2028 budget, I plan on trying to do a little bit of those priority twos, to try to cut more back over there. So, like I said, this project here would just take care of the priority ones that are in that substation of that lift station. So, like I said, this would just be the notice of award. We'll let the contractor know that they were awarded it. We'll go through and do basically a pre-construction meeting, and then I'll probably come to you guys for a notice to proceed as well for this project. So,
I think given what we know about that part of the system, it's work that needs done. I don't have any, I'd make a motion that we approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by John, Purdy and Shalowski. Other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5 affirmative. Angela, any other old business? Lee? Chad? No?
Okay. No.
so I do have something on there that I didn't get added onto it. It's gonna be for the project, for the dewatering project. I'll let Joe talk to you about that.
I just want to give you a quick update. Tomorrow at 10 o'clock, we've got the pre-construction conference. We're going to meet out at the treatment plant with their contractor. I've got 3 copies of the agreement that I would like to have you guys sign tonight, and then Matt will bring it. I'll leave it with Matt. We'll bring them over there, and I'll have those guys sign off on it tomorrow. If they need to bring it back, they'll sign it. And then the notice to proceed, we're putting it down as August 6th. So if you would sign the notice to proceed tonight as well. And then it's a 425-day contract, so substantial completion would be October 5th, 2027. And the final completion is 30 days after, which is November 4th, 2027. So if we get those signed, I've also got the acceptance of notice to proceed, which I'll give to the contractor tomorrow. And then once those are all signed by all the parties, we'll put them together in a book, and you guys will get a copy, they get a copy, and we keep a copy. And so tomorrow is really, hopefully, the kickoff of the project. They should be providing us with a schedule. We'll work on the ground rules of when we're gonna have progress meetings, when they're gonna make their payoffs and all that kind of stuff. So I think we're ready to go here. We'll see how it goes. So, any questions?
Yeah, are there any questions?
Nope.
Sounds like you were successful with your bond closing and everything, so everything is there, so I think we're ready to.
Yeah.
Big production, though, wasn't it?
Well, we've got some folks here that this affects them because it's gonna be their money. Would you mind explaining how this whole bond, how we came out in such good shape with it?
We ended up financing this project by way of bonds actually sold on the open market. When you hear of municipal bonds as something someone can invest in, you can go out on your brokerage account and buy municipal bonds as a tax exempt form of investment. That's the way this project was funded, and we ended up with a very, very favorable credit rating, which drove the interest rate down. And we self-financed a part of the project, which drove the amount of indebtedness that we needed down. And we're able to purchase the bond insurance, right? I think because of the rating, which drove the interest rate down a bit more. So through some good efforts on the part of the town and some of the town's consultants, and the fact that the town is in good stead as far as rating is concerned, the financing terms for this project are very, very favorable. The effect to the town stakeholders is that the rates, the increase to rates was minimal relative to what it might have been had the financing been so good.
So, something to add to it too, I think because of the day that the bonds went out, was a good day in the market. The consultants basically said, I think it was around almost 25, I think it's 24,000, like $800 is actually what we saved from what was projected. And if they'd have done it the next day, I guess it was a horrible day in the market, and it probably would have swung the other way where we would probably had an additional. So
A lot of things
good
broke the
timing,
right way.
good luck.
Yeah. I think one of the things that's important for people to know is when we first went on this project, the proposal that was presented to us was a small increase now to the ratepayers and then possibly a small increase next year. From what we've been told, the one next year, we don't have to worry about. Because the bond rating was fantastic. I mean, our credit rating was off the chart. And I mean, we just take care of our stuff. And I know some of our council was kind of surprised that it was as good as it was. And so I want to thank everybody for that. But yeah, for all of you that were concerned about your increases, they're absolutely minimal, and that was our goal. You know, we knew it had to happen, but I know there were some discussions up here where it was like, okay, we're not gonna do any more than is absolutely necessary, and I think we accomplished what we tried to do. So that was. Do you want to sign those now so you don't have to hang all night, or are you just?
Actually, what I'm gonna do is, I'll take the lead, if you guys sign them, I'm gonna be here tomorrow morning, so I'll just.
Oh,
give
okay.
at the,
Perfect.
meeting,
Okay. Yeah, that's great. And that way you don't have to hang out.
Yeah.
So,
Joe, thanks for coming down, though.
yeah,
It's late.
thank you.
Thank you, we'll look forward to get this going for you.
Steve, do you have any old business? I know you got stuff later. Okay, John, are you representing Joe since he decided to leave, or are you just here because you're bored?
I'm just here to watch government work.
When does that start?
What do you think?
Dwayne, you have
We're
anything?
doing so far.
Yeah. Okay, new business, council member emails.
Yeah, since it looks like it's the rest of my show off of the agenda, I guess, but I know, I believe it was John Murray, you had sent out an email about wanting to get, so the public would have better access to all of you with questions and things like that. And so I had responded that I would work with our IT department to get you guys a cost on that. And I think I sent an email out as well, so it ends up being, I think it's $12 per email per month is what it ends up being. And in talks with Corey, that'll be the same basic email that all of us have. It meets all the, I guess, the statutory requirements as far as the archiving and all that stuff. Plus it's a little more secure than just using your personal emails, I guess.
Yeah, and I meant, there's a couple of reasons behind it. One is personally, I think it'd be good on the website for an email to reach each one of the council members. I think that'd be a positive. Now, I may live to regret that, but I think there ought to be that kind of access. Beyond that, right now I'm using a Gmail account for all the town stuff because I don't want to use my employer's account because there could someday be a Freedom of Information request. Well, I don't want to subject my employer to that. So again, I think it makes sense for a lot of reasons for us to have it.
In talking with Corey, so he can set that email up so it is on your laptops, I guess, that you had. He can also set that up based on any of the devices if you wanted it on a cell phone or whatever. They would be more than happy to either do it or even guide you guys through on how to set that up. So.
And you may know this or you may not, and if you don't, if you would ask Corey. I have on my phone at this particular time. Hello? Figured it'd be one of us. I have, I believe, saved every town email that I've gotten since email started. Is there a way that it can get off of my phone and go to that instead of in a personal folder?
I don't know how to answer that, but I'm sure there is a way, but let me talk with Corey
Okay.
and things like that. And one of my suggestions, like I said, I put it in an email would be is to your ward numbers instead of like your name at newwhiteland.in.gov like ours are. Maybe use your ward number just to, so things don't have to be switched around if, things change.
Yeah. And I'm okay either way.
Okay.
But I mean, there's times I forget which ward I am.
Well,
And so the folks out there aren't going to know necessarily, like, who do I need to send it to?
Well, Were you gonna go there? Well, yeah, I was. So caveat a little bit to that is there wouldn't, it's not like there would be an additional charge. Say that you decide that you're gonna retire and you're gonna be done on the council and the new member needs to take over the email. He would just basically take your email address away and he would do another one. That $12 would go away. We would just get the new one. So it's not like it's gonna cost anything extra if we do.
No, I'm not worried about the cost.
No, I know, that was originally was some of my worry.
Okay.
Now, where Dwayne was getting ready to go as well is what we plan to do is on our GIS system, we have the ward map that we created and all that stuff. We were gonna create a link on the website to that, so it's interactive. So somebody could click on their parcel where they're at and it'll pop up to where what ward they're in. You know, we could have your name in there and then the email address. And things like that. And actually, I think we could actually have it to where you could click on the hyperlink in the GIS when it opens up, and it would auto-populate that email address to do it. So, you know, either way, it doesn't matter. Like I said, I don't believe there's going to be any extra cost if we use your names or we just use wards.
Oh, that makes sense then.
So,
I don't have a strong feeling either way.
Yeah, I mean, it's $600 for the year. And if huh?
Sorry, 720.
Yeah, we're 60 a month.
That's right, there are 12 months.
Yes.
we're only going to activate them only during a certain
We
time.
don't all take November and December off like John does.
That's why you do the books and not me. Okay, I think it's a good idea. So
My idea to begin with, so I'll make the motion.
make a motion. We have a second.
I will second.
Comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5 affirmative. Okay, keep
My
going.
last thing
Keep going.
on the agenda is the repair to the back truck. It was another emergency purchase. We usually do an annual maintenance on that truck. We had some issues with it this year, just some different things that were broke. So when we took it in, we told them, hey, double check all this stuff. One of them actually, luckily, it was a very big safety issue that arose, and luckily nobody ended up getting hurt, but we were using it and we had extended the boom out on the back portion of it, and the tube separated and fell out and basically come down and was hanging there from the hydraulic cylinder with there are 2 or 3 guys basically standing right there. Luckily, that hydraulic cylinder caught it. Because the stops had sheared off somehow. So that was one of the repairs that they had to make. So we had to get new, I think, intermediate and internal tubes for that. There was a discharge pump that was on it. Part-wise, it ended up being about an additional $12,000 in parts for the stuff that was actually broke. It was a total purchase or total service amount of $20,372.60. Like I said, $12,000 of that was parts for the things that were broken, and then it's hard to estimate what the labor was for those parts because it's all lumped in. The labor's all lumped in as one thing for the normal maintenance plus that. So. But they would like you guys to, I guess, authorize that payment, because it was over that, but we did it as an emergency. So.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Chad, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by John Schalotski. Other questions for Matt? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5 affirmative. Okay, risk management report.
I emailed that to you, I think I received it sometime in June, either 24th or 25th, and emailed it to everyone, and I've made a copy and given to everybody. From what I understand, it's just good best practice to note in our minutes that you've received it, and it's just a list of things that we can improve on to help improve our risk management. I think we're already working on some of those things.
is this something that you will, or someone will stay in contact and say, okay, this particular one is completed and,
Yes, I can do that.
okay, any questions? I don't think we have to take any action on that, so just, yeah, if you would, some of these things are kind of, just keep us updated if you would. Thank you. Approval to pay the invoices for cost of the bond issuance.
Okay, this is similar to, the vote that we did earlier with regards to payment. Is I'm asking for approval, I mean, I was not ready to pay these today for this docket, but we want to pay them before the next docket. And it's gonna come out of the wired funds. We have to set up a new account, we don't have the checks yet, we, also need to set up the fund, the appropriations, and do all that correctly. So, just wanna make sure that I have approval to pay those.
So these were all normal expected expenses, you just need the approval to pay them?
Yes, those were all listed when Robert Reynolds came in and talked about the project. It's nothing extra or anything that you were not made aware of before, so.
I'll make the motion to pay
Okay,
them.
a motion,
I'll go ahead and second.
second by John Chalotsky. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5 affirmative. Repair to engine 11.
It's not a repair, it's more of an add-on. We're wanting to add on some boxes for hose storage, just to make the engine a lot more functionality. It's over the $5,000 mark. It's $6,375. We were just looking for approval. We're getting it all welded up by a shop by the zoo. It's done a bunch of welding for us before.
Where do the boxes go?
So the front bumper line that we use is going to be extended lower to hold more hose, and then we're having 2 on the side panels to hold hydrant hose to connect to the hydrant or connect to another engine quicker. And then we're getting a long divider for the back so we can add another hose to the back, so we have more options to do what we need to do, either pull in or back in or whatever we need to do.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sorry, go ahead. No, I understand by Chief Kern's email that he sent out that you already have the funding available.
That's gonna be my question, it's in the budget for this year.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, do we have a motion to approve the upgrade?
I will make a motion to approve the upgrade for engine 11.
Okay,
I second.
Dennis and Chad, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5 affirmative. Angela, any other new business? Lee? Chad? John?
No.
Nope.
I've got one.
Okay, go ahead.
Angela, for next month, I would like to put you, to have Dr. Edsel from the school corporation placed on the agenda to discuss with the town about what the referendum renewal is all about.
Okay.
When you asked me earlier, you said Dr. Spray.
No, I didn't.
Okay, maybe I heard.
Does that make a difference?
I don't have a dog in this fight, but I think he did.
I think he did too. Steve, you have any other business? Matt? Dwayne? Cool. Okay, ordinance 2026-03, establishing
This is,
park rules.
Dwayne's doing, if you're angry with anybody. Well, he said to me, kind of a list of park rules. It's a good idea to have posted at the park, right, a set of rules. And we can do that without an ordinance, but we really can't enforce them in a meaningful way without an ordinance. So I took sort of the rules he had, I took an ordinance or two I've done in the past and fashioned this one. The rules that end up being posted don't have to be exactly like the ordinance, but they have to be close enough that if we do need to enforce them, we have an ordinance in place that gives them the force of local law, right? So that's what this is about. I have set it up to be introduced tonight and adopted in September. It could be adopted tonight. I don't know whether you've had a chance to look at it. I don't know what you want to hear from Dwayne about it, but that's how this came to be. And we really ought to have it. Whether you change it or not, at the end of this process, we ought to end up with an adopted ordinance that enacts park rules.
And I believe this is part of the.
It is. That's part of their report, so.
Well, then we're checking another box, right?
Yes.
So, what do you have to say?
I would ask that you, make a motion tonight and approve it, and then suspend the rules and approve it a second time. That way I can go ahead and get, signage and everything ordered and on the way.
I've read it, I don't have any issues with it. I don't really like reading and suspending and reading again unless we need to, unless there's an emergency. In my mind, that's an emergency move, and this doesn't feel like an emergency, but I don't have any issues with what we're doing.
Lee, do we even have to suspend?
Well, but that's how we've always done it.
Okay.
But the rule is this: if there is unanimous consent to adopt an ordinance on the night it's introduced and a vote of 2/3 or greater, then it is adopted on the night it's introduced. The default rule is it's introduced in one meeting and adopted in the second one. It's like a supermajority vote. In order to give it, to effectively adopt it on the night it's introduced, that's what's required. You all have to consent, all of you who are here have to consent to adopt it tonight, and you have to have a vote of 2/3 or greater for that to be effective. What we used to do historically in the past was we suspend the rules and we'd read it a second time. That would get us to the same place. But it's a little more streamlined to do it the way I'm describing it. And so it's really about more the consent to adopt it at the night that it's introduced.
And I don't, the supermajority is one thing, but I've always assumed reading it once, approving it the next month has more to do with letting the public say,
it does.
what are you doing?
It does.
And I'm just not sure why we'd suspend that unless we were in an emergency sort of a situation.
I understand. I think the purpose of it and the default rule being 2 meetings is to afford greater transparency and to give the public an opportunity to know about it. The procedure step I'm talking about is how you overcome it. Right.
My point is I'm not sure why we'd overcome it unless we felt some compelling need to do that.
I understand. It certainly doesn't rise to the level of emergency.
I think when we were having 2 meetings a month, it was not we didn't have hardly any that we suspended the rules because, okay, in 2 weeks we're gonna be back and we can revisit it. Now that it's gonna be September, it's just a matter of getting signed something, but yeah, I agree with you. Unless it's something urgent.
No, it's not. It's not. The whole ordering signage was the only issue. I can wait another month to order signage. So.
Okay.
I think what's also different now is we are streaming the meetings. I don't know who's out there watching, but we probably ought to assume that we have a larger audience than what we had in the past. And people have the opportunity to view the meetings after the fact. And so, to John's point, and I really appreciate that, we don't want to just as a matter of habit, and a lot of towns do that. They don't even give thought to doing it in 2 meetings. They just do everything that way. But if there are members of the public who are paying attention to the business of the town and the actions of the council, to be cavalier about that, I think it starts to look reckless and starts to look like you're marginalizing those people. And because we used to know how many people were going to be aware of that because we could count the heads in the room, we don't really know out there, which I think ups the stakes a bit on suspending rules and doing it in 1 meeting, except in cases where we need to, we need something to get paid or whatever. So, anyway.
Okay, do we have a motion
Let's
to
introduce.
accept on first reading?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by John Purdy.
Second.
Second by Chad. Other questions, comments, or discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 5 affirmative. And ordinance 2026-04, the wheel tax.
I want to let Dwayne talk about this, but I want to real fast explain why this came to you as you were walking out the door to come to the meeting. Dwayne and I think Angela both, were you both talking to Adam yesterday? Who was it? Okay. Adam Stone did kind of report on his progress yesterday and explained to Dwayne and Angela what the implications are of either adopting wheel tax or not as it relates to eligibility for funding going forward. And it came together just after an afternoon meeting yesterday. Got an email from Dwayne yesterday afternoon, can we get this back in front of the council, pulled it together today and sent it out to you. So that's why it was last minute. It wasn't forgotten, and I don't like to spring things on you, but for you to have time to think about things, but that's why it happened that way.
Yeah, so there, we introduced the ordinance way back when, and then we rescinded it over various different concerns. We do have a deadline of September 1st if we are going to do this. Basically, the long and the short of it is it puts us in qualifies us for a lane mile direct distribution with the way the new House Enrolled Act or House Bill 1461 has laid things out. Personally, I think it's ridiculous, but that's my opinion. So the whole situation is very, very fluid all the way across the board. There's still some things that legislature doesn't even know what the dollar amount for the lane mile distribution is. The way my current understanding, and I believe you all have the PowerPoint that was presented from Purdue LTAP. I also have another AIM mini quick guide here if anybody wanted to take a look at it as well. But basically you're going to have a pool of X amount of dollars, and then a portion of that, there's $100 million that would be pulled out specifically for CCMG. Then the railroad gets a portion of it, and then the city of Indianapolis gets a portion of it. After all that's said and done, there's a lane mile direct distribution. And that's what we would be qualified for. The benefit of doing this is in the event that you don't or we don't get approved or awarded CCMG funds, you're still going to get a lane mile direct distribution. So you're in short, you're buying your way into qualifying for CCMG. There's no other way to put it. So that's why it's been brought back to your attention because of the council meeting and the deadline of September 1st. My thought process and conversation with Lee was to pass this on the initial reading tonight. Then set some dates, come up with dates, bring Adam Stone in later this month, prior to the meeting, let him answer any additional questions that you may or may not have. Maybe by that time we'll have some additional clarity on how things are supposed to operate. There is Indiana code sets that it has minimum requirements and maximum requirements, which in that form you'll see all of that. What else am I missing, Lee?
Well, that's all. He's explained it right. It is about being eligible for this other source of funding coming from INDOT. We can't layer it on community crossing grant. So if we get a community crossing grant for $1.5 million, we're not going to get any direct lane. We're not going to get it because we've tapped out what we're eligible for overall. If we get a community crossing grant of $700,000, we've got $800,000 left that we could tap into from this other source. If we don't adopt a wheel tax, we're not going to be eligible for that other source. And that's how the whole thing started before. We adopted the ordinance back last year because at the time you adopted it, the version of House Bill 1461 required that you adopt a wheel tax to be eligible for community crossing money at all. And the other part about that was, if you adopted it, then the county couldn't also impose a wheel tax. So there weren't going to be double tax. And then they changed it. They changed it as we were adopting it. I missed that the legislation had been changed days before we adopted it. When we learned that that had been changed, that the county could double tax, and that it wasn't a requirement for NDOT funding, you changed your mind and decided to take it away. Here we're kind of staring down the same thing. We want to be eligible for this additional distribution of money, and this is the only way we can be. I think it's great if Adam would come. My thought is this: on the wheel tax, you can impose a tax from $5 per vehicle up to $40. On the excise tax, you can impose a tax from $7.50 up to $25. Reading the legislation, looking at how the words are strung across the page, what it says is you have to impose these taxes to be eligible. I don't see any language at all that says you have to impose these taxes at a certain rate, at a certain level. I don't think there's any way that a state agency, NDOT, can say, well, we're not going to fund you because you adopted the tax, but you didn't adopt a big enough tax. You didn't impose the maximum rate. It says you have to adopt or impose the taxes. What I would be inclined to do would be to adopt an ordinance imposing the minimum of both.
Yep.
We check the box, we meet the requirement. I think that makes us eligible. If the legislation changes as we go forward, and then it sets a requirement that maybe it's a tiered requirement that if the tax is this much, you're eligible for this percentage, whatever it might be, who knows? But as I read it now, is we have to impose the taxes. It doesn't say anything about how much they need to be. $5 for commercial vehicles, trucks, and things. It's a tax, but it's not very onerous. $7.50 for passenger vehicles, again, tax, but not very much. You are meeting the requirement to capture money for your stakeholders. You're having to take some money from them in order to be eligible to get it, but you're taking the minimum amount that you can, and so cross the line. I suppose it's conceivable that we could do this, and if Dwayne is successful as Dwayne has always been in getting the maximum community crossing grant every year, we're not going to get this money anyway because we tapped out and got our full amount, sort of our allocation in the community crossing grant. But if we don't, then we're going to want to look to this source, and we both kind of think and wonder and probably assume that they may give out community crossing grants differently based on whether you have adopted this tax or not. I do think that's something that's probably within agency discretion, but I don't know. And so, and sort of Dwayne's point, tonight, if you're inclined to move forward to this and you want to hear from Adam, I guess what we would look to you to do would be just introduce this ordinance tonight in the form I've presented it, and let him come have a talk with you. It's going to happen before the end of the month. Have a special meeting. The sole item on the agenda would be that. But if you feel good about this, then it all makes sense the way it is. If you wanted to go ahead tonight and adopt this ordinance, here again we go back to the 2 readings, for the minimum amount of the taxes, if that's what you're inclined to do, but you could do that too. And if you're wanting to impose more tax because the town needs money, you can do that too. A lot of local jurisdictions are adopting wheel tax and excise taxes because we're all scrambling around looking for money, and this is one of the ways to get more.
So I've got a question and a clarification. The question is, so we put this $5 on, does that $5 come back to New Whiteland, or it just goes into the pot and it gets spread?
No, it's New Whiteland.
So it comes to New Whiteland?
It does.
It's dispersed directly. We will have to.
That's our
create
tax.
An additional a separate fund.
Right.
It can only be used for road work, and it will all, 100% of the tax will come back to New Whiteland.
Well, and then the clarification, if I've understood right, and I probably haven't. So CCMG was 250 million or thereabouts. It was distributed the way it was distributed. Going forward, CCMG, the initial tranche is going to be 100 million. It'll still be distributed the same way. The additional 250 or whatever that additional ends up being is what communities who adopt the tax would then become. No, I haven't understood.
So,
Sorry, I was.
Well, the additional funds would be available to communities that have adopted the tax.
so my interpretation of it is that, so $100 million, what is divvied out, we qualify through CCMG for $1 million, okay? We have a tax, we get qualified for the additional lane mile distribution. And I hope I'm answering your question correctly. But if that lane mile distribution comes back to be, we'll say $100,000, okay? Now they'll reduce the amount we technically qualify by $100,000. So now we only qualify for $900,000. But the interesting thing about all of that is that and I mentioned it already, in the event of a year that we do not get funded, if we get $100,000 from the lane mile distribution, now we have that compared to add to what our normal MVH funds are.
So, and maybe I'm wrong about this too, the CCMG total pool in the past was around 250 million.
Yeah, so on that handout that you have.
And that's what I was looking at. I don't know if I understood.
I think you're correct. Yeah, it was 250 million, 248 million. And then how they're gonna do it is they're going to combine for 2027, they're combining there's a carryover from this year into next year, which equates to 115 million, which brings the whole total up next year to 374 million. It's on that third page of that handout. It's kind of the best explanation of how the whole process goes.
But it feels kind of like a shell game because it went from 250 to 100, and you're saying the other money is only available to communities that have adopted a tax. But if you have adopted the tax, it reduces your seems like a lot of money's disappearing, which probably tells me maybe I haven't understood it right.
So
I think you do.
Okay, so like he had said, so you've got the 100 million that is gonna go to CCMG, then you've got 20 million that goes to the railroad.
Yeah.
And then you got 50 million that's going to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
The remainder of what, I guess the 200, what was normally set aside, the 250 or whatever, is gonna come down to roughly anywhere from 190 to 254 and a half. Will be what is left over for the lane distribution. And that's kind of where it is. So you're still gonna get access, even if you don't adopt the wheel tax, you're still gonna get access to the 100 million. The only thing that you're gonna get access to for the wheel, if you implement the wheel tax, is that 194 to 254 million split up however the state decides. That's what you'll.
Well, but it is based on mileage.
It is, right, I just don't know how much.
It is a
per
formula.
mile.
Right.
They don't tell you that yet. They just know that it's 194 to 254 million in a pot, and then they're gonna go through, I would assume they'll divide it out however many lane miles there is for the people that imposed a wheel tax.
Yeah.
And that's how it'll be.
Well, and do we think or worry that, assume that, I kind of tried to say this before, that if we make ourselves eligible for the lane mile direct distribution, our application for a community crossing grant may be viewed differently because you're going to be getting money over here. We're going to take this 100 million and we're going to give it to other grant recipients who aren't eligible for the funding source over here. It's not what it says.
It's not what it says, and I don't know that it's gonna be viewed differently from that standpoint. I think from the standpoint, and this is maybe what you were saying, from the standpoint of whether you have a wheel tax and whether you don't have a wheel tax straight off the board, that's where it's gonna be viewed differently, in my opinion.
Well, I know, but having it or not having it is what makes you eligible for the.
Yes.
I will tell you opposite of what you said, because when we had our discussion with Crossroads, I don't remember the guy's name, he almost, now again, it's not in legislation, this is his feeling is that the people that have adopted the wheel tax will be showing more favoritism for CCMG grant.
And the truth is, they're gonna change
Really?
it 4 more times.
But you can't get more total money. You're still capped at whatever the CCMG amount would be.
But if you think of it, if you look at it this way, is that then extends their pot of CCMG money? Because okay, if lane distribution say we get 180,000, instead of giving us $1 million of the CCMG, they only now have to give us, what's it, 720. So
Yeah.
now they got an additional 180,000 to give out to CCMG.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
Okay. I think we're landing in the same place. We're getting there different ways. But yeah, I agree. I agree.
It's stupid, to be honest with you.
They're
Well,
gonna
John
change it.
said it.
It's a
It's a shell game.
Yeah,
And they're gonna change it 3 more times
Yeah.
before
Oh,
anybody.
absolutely.
Well, I think it's consistent too with what we've seen in other areas. It is the state making local officials the
Yes.
bad guy.
Yes,
Right.
absolutely it is.
And the extent to which more new taxes impose, you guys are being forced to do it. So your constituents are angry with you, and the state's looking like they've gone to great efforts to save people money. And yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of a dirty trick myself.
The whole
But
SB1 was a show.
it was.
But
for
the
that.
one thing I like about it, and I will say this out loud, is it forces the taxing
It does.
authority down to the lowest levels of government where it ought to be. So that the 5 of us and the community that sits here are going to decide if there is going to be an income tax for New Whiteland. It's the 5 of us that are going to decide instead of somebody.
You're
in
right,
Annapolis.
except if they take away too much of your
I know.
property tax revenue that you have counted on and that the whole system has been built on for all this time,
I know.
it puts you in a untenable position.
Well, I agree.
Although I think it ought to land
I said
there,
that's
I
the
don't think
only
you ought to
thing
do
I
that
like
and then
about
tie your hand behind it.
That's the only thing I like. But the
Okay.
fact of the matter is, we're building the airplane as we're taking off. You know, nobody knows. what this
I
thing's
get
gonna
that
be.
piece. I get that piece.
Nobody
It's-
knows what it's going to be. We know what it is at this moment, or at least we
Yeah,
think
this
we do.
minute, yeah. The thing is so frustrating to me, and this is something Dwayne said to me today, and it makes so much sense. CCMG money is our tax money. We have put into it, okay? And they're saying, well, if you want access to your money, you have to give us more money. That's garbage. That's absolute garbage. But we don't have a choice.
Yeah. The
Now-
flip side of that, though, is the state has made available to New Whiteland and lots and lots and lots of other communities over the last however many years, community crossing grant money. And to your point, but they are giving a lot of it back. And think what wouldn't have gotten done in New Whiteland
Absolutely.
had that money not found its way back here.
Yeah.
So could it be better? Yeah. Could it have been worse? It could have been. So we're happy for the money that has made its way back, and it's another time to pat him on the back a bit that not every community is getting it because they don't have a Dwayne that does such a good job of applying for it and doing it in a way
Oh, but
that
there's-
gets a yes every year.
He's brushing you off, but I can think of 4 or 5 different projects that happened because of CCMG.
Yeah.
And I'm
yeah.
not even trying hard. I mean, that's just in the time that
But a lot of
on the
communities
council.
aren't getting the money because they're not going about it.
They
the
don't
right way.
try.
Well, and I hate the idea of the state gives us a little bit of a break, and then we're turning around as citizens, and then us as a town, we've got to turn around
Yep.
and take that break away. But the reality of it is, without the grant money, Tracy Road's not done, Sawmill's not done.
Right.
All the roads that we've resurfaced, stripped up, rebuilt curbs, none of that's going to happen. And I think there's a little bit of pride in the fact of now when you turn off 31, it looks new, it looks clean. When you drive over to Bradford Place, different streets that we've done, it looks good and it doesn't look run down. There's not weeds growing out of the curb where the curb's completely dissolved.
And I do appreciate too that they didn't say you have to impose a tax in this amount. They did give you a range. You can impose it less than $5 and $7.50, but you don't have to impose it at $40 and $25. And so if you want to check the box, run it all the way down to the minimum amount, that has the best feel to it, I think, given how I think I understand how all of you view this. It's not so much money.
My understanding in reading it, and I may be wrong, is it's an either or. You have to either do an excise or you have to do a wheel tax.
So you have to do both.
You do have to do both.
You do have to do both,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Just in case anybody cares, and I won't say who this is because I don't want to influence anybody, but I got a phone call last week from somebody that is running either for county council or county commissioner. I don't remember which one. And they said their first order of business is going to try to get it to where we are not paying double, that the county could only collect from people in the unincorporated part of Johnson County. So if you live in the county, you'll pay the $25. Right now, we're gonna pay the 25 plus we're gonna pay whatever, but they assured me that was one of the first things they were gonna try to get implemented.
That'd be great.
It would, so.
If that were to happen, you'd probably want to run the tax up in here.
May have to, but anyway, so, okay, we have that out there.
I think it makes sense to have Adam Stone come in and talk to us. I don't mind coming back for another meeting because I don't think I understand this. But that said, I think we ought to pass the first reading tonight.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because also we're talking about taxes. So that's one I don't think that we should circumvent.
Oh, no, we wouldn't do that anyway. But we do want to have a special meeting though, so.
Yeah.
All right, do we have a motion to adopt it? on
Let's just
first
make a
reading?
motion to introduce it this evening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Motion to introduce.
Okay,
I'll second.
second by John Purdy. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There's 5 affirmative. Do we need to set an amount?
I don't think so.
Okay,
Oh, I'd be, assuming we move on, I'd be in favor of the minimum.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
this is-
That's the understanding right now.
As
Okay.
long as it keeps us for the CCMG.
Yeah, and then if it's different, then Adam can let us know that we need to.
But we could also, down the road, increase that.
Yes.
If it, okay, never mind.
If it
Well,
was,
and to clarify too, it isn't a requirement to remain eligible for community crossing grants. It is a requirement to become eligible for the lane mile direct distribution, which is another source of funds from NDOT that we're not eligible for now.
But it's not, because they took this pool, and they made
Well,
it for
well,
this.
they did,
And said,
exactly.
now you can get access to this.
That's right. That's
Thank
right.
you for explaining
But
that.
that's
That's
is
the most
distinction.
clear explanation I've
Explaining
had
Michelle
tonight.
gave you.
yeah, so, all right, while we have Angela over there figuring, we need to schedule a date, or do you want to get with Adam
need to-
first?
So I have already reached out to Adam this morning to see what dates he might be available, so I will report back to you
Okay.
once he has some dates and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, yeah, if you
We
can,
can't schedule the special meeting until you meet with Adam.
yeah, that's fine, okay, thank you. All right, I think that is everything on this evening's agenda. So at this time, the meeting is open to the public. If you have a question or comment, we ask for your name and address for the record, please.
The Appleton 103 Sawmill. Well, it's on my mind, and everybody's speaking first. The special meeting that you're gonna have with this Adam guy on this wheel tax, is that something we as town people can come to?
Oh,
so
absolutely.
we can understand
Yes.
it
Yes.
instead of just
Special
how
meetings.
you guys understand it?
Yes, special meetings are always open to the public. The only thing that is never, is not open is if we have an executive session, and that would be to discuss an employee or something.
Can I
But-
clarify, because I think, were we meeting with Adam Stone and then doing a special meeting, or are we having a special
I-
meeting?
I would
with Adam
rather-
Stone? 'Cause I think we should
I'd
have-
rather be all out in the
Yeah,
open, so
I'd rather, yeah,
people who attend hear what Adam has to say.
yeah.
He's gonna be the best to describe this as it comes to dollars and cents than
Yeah.
anybody in this room.
Thank you, Angela, because that's what I was meaning.
I was, yeah, I knew what you meant.
You know me. The other thing, a couple things is, first I wanna say thank you for now gonna have your emails available. That was something if you guys go back and look in your notes, I brought up to you probably 6 months ago when everybody was more dead set against it, and I understand because you don't know what you may stir up, you know, in that, and I understand that. So I think it's good that you're trying to make yourselves a little bit more available to us versus going through the back door through the office and, you know, all these ways. So I want to say, you know, thank you for doing that. And my last thing is, I don't know the name of the parks around here because I don't really have any little ones anymore. But I happen to have a 10-year-old granddaughter with me the other day. She wanted to go to the park. So we were driving past the firehouse, and I thought we'll just go this way. Just because I really don't know anything about much of our parks because I don't have any. But anyhow, you might take a look over there and see how very little mulch or substance there is.
That's on the report
That's on
from
the
me.
list.
Yeah, the
Along
risk
with
management,
weeds.
yeah.
Yeah, because, you know, I don't, I'm like, wow, there's weeds over there that almost need.
And it's actually, I'm in the process of receiving quotes for it. I've got 3 as of right now, so it's something on my radar.
Okay, that's all.
Well, I want to ask you a question since you're here. At the last meeting, you were concerned about in front of your house, and I've gone by a few times, and it is looking better.
You know, one
And
thing
not
about
completely,
that-
but
no, the one thing about that, it did help cut down a little bit of dust that we are now really.
yeah, that we can't help with. But I know you were concerned with the unsightliness,
Oh,
and it's getting better.
It is done.
So you're saying you want the weeds back?
Yeah, you want the weeds back.
Sorry, I said, are you saying you want the weeds back? To keep the dust down? I mean, I'm sorry.
I did.
It's late, my blood sugar's off or something.
Yeah.
We're getting more dust.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
is.
there, but no,
Yeah.
it is, you know, and it will pass. It's just not
Okay.
something I like, but it
Okay.
is what it is.
Well, since you asked last time, I want to make sure that
No, it
we're
is.
at least looking at it and trying to make it presentable for you. So, anyone else? You were done, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I want to cut you off. Anyone else?
You were at first, okay, yeah, I got stuff. So, my name's John, and I'm 36 Redwood Lane. Then, I lived here for 41 years, the same house. And, I had to write it all down so I don't forget anything. Over the years, I and some of my neighbors have made many improvements to our properties. We keep our yards mowed, pull the weeds, trees trimmed, we take pride in our homes. For many years now, I've watched while some people, owners and renters, let their property become overgrown, throw junk out in the front, park cars in the front yard regularly, park unregistered cars on their property, which is not right. Put junk out in the front by the curb the week after heavy trash day, and they stay there all month long and leave it there for a month. There are just a few of, that is just a few of the things I see daily, and I mean every single day. All these things bring down property values and make it hard to sell homes. Not that I'm gonna sell mine, but there are some people that are. Who wants to buy a house next to a yard full of cars and junk trash, right? The town had a code enforcer. Do we still have it?
That's taken over by the police department now.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
That's not working. The town had a code enforcer that was assigned to see the town's ordinances were followed and made necessary and give notices to the homeowners with consequences. Time frames set up to bring it up to the town standards or fines would be implemented. None of this is being done, none, anywhere in our neighborhoods.
Amen.
I may be wrong, but I believe it is the police department that is supposed to do that now, which I totally disagree with. They're for safety. They're to give us safety. They're supposed to be watching the speeders. They're supposed to be watching reckless driving. They're not supposed to stop and tell somebody they need to cut their damn weeds, right? And I appreciate our police department. I really do. And our fire department.
The problem with all this is that the town is not doing anything or following through with any notices or fines, and the neighborhoods look bad, really bad. I have seen the improvements that have been made to the parks and some of the streets, the sidewalks, as you guys talked about earlier, especially in Raintree, and gravel causing families to take to the street to walk. Oh yeah, the gravel truck sidewalks, they're supposed to be concrete, but they're so broke up and in disarray that people are walking their babies in strollers in the middle of the street because they can't go down the sidewalks. And I know that you've told me before, I've replaced my sidewalk. And you told me before that they're not dedicated to the town of Whiteland. Well, I don't know what we can do about that, but there is an ordinance that says people do have to take care of that property and they have to repair it. And that's what I was told when I asked for the town's help to replace my sidewalk. They said that was my responsibility, that I had to tear it up. And they did make a deal with me where they picked up all the gravel and the rock and what concrete was left and hauled it away for me. I appreciated it. But that's what I was told, and that's what I did. I just want families with kids pushing a stroller, go down the sidewalk. Little kids riding their bikes in the street because they can't ride on the side. Some of the sidewalks are covered in grass and weeds. All right. The problem with all this is that town is not doing anything, following through without notices, fines, and the neighborhoods look bad. I've seen the improvements that have been made to the parks, blah, blah, blah. Already talked about that. Don't get me started on traffic and speeding through the neighborhoods with no police in sight. This will continue next month. I'll bring that up next month. And nothing against you guys. But I have called many times. Brentwood is a drag strip at 5 o'clock. I think Angela could probably attest to that. I mean, they come off of Ashland and they just hammer it and they're gone. And there's kids playing and riding bikes and people going across strollers down the street. All right. I really do expect to see changes and very soon for the sake of our neighborhoods. And just for the record, you guys will see. I did make a 10-minute drive. It's a 10-minute drive around our neighborhoods. These are just some of the things I caught, and these aren't even the worst. Sorry. These are not even the worst. Thanks. As you'll see through the pictures, we have a nuisance order 2017-13 not being enforced. Rank vegetation ordinance not being enforced. Sidewalks, as we talked about. There's a resolution 2017-1. Parking, chapter 72, section 93.05. You cannot park on curbs or sidewalks or in your yards. You must park on a hard surface, pavement, concrete, or gravel. There's pictures in there. The guy has 4 or 5 cars in a trailer parked in his front yard continuously. Not just him, he's the worst.
Well,
It's unacceptable.
well, and not to interrupt you, the automobiles, my understanding's been in our current ordinance is that you can't park on the street overnight, but I don't think there's anything currently says you can't park in the yard.
The ordinance says you can't park on the curb or the sidewalks.
Yeah.
And it has to be on a hard surface, concrete, pavement, or gravel. That's what the ordinance says.
Okay, well then I misunderstood that. So that's the current ordinance?
I don't know where it says that.
Okay, well, if it doesn't say you can't park in your front yards, then that needs to be changed, and that should be brought up at the next meeting. That needs to be changed, because why would you let people just park in their front yards? I don't get that. And people parking on sidewalks in their front yards all the time.
Well, they're certainly not allowed to do that.
He was parked across his sidewalk and driveway, and the truck's jacked up, and the wheels all off of it for 3 or 4 days working on it.
Well, so the car you're talking about was, it sounds like it wasn't operable, but a car that's operable parked in the driveway that happens to block the sidewalk, our driveways are awfully short in a lot of places, that would be hard. But I'll be honest, I've looked at the ordinances because the cars in the yard bother me as well. But I don't know that there's anything in the current ordinance against that. It does say
I think that's right.
you can't park in the road overnight. I think that's primarily.
I think that's a great ordinance too.
Right. The question, like I say, it's almost the lesser of two evils in some respects, and I don't disagree with you on that one. Do you want the junk cars in the road, on both sides of the road, or sometimes there's gonna be junk cars in?
Put them in their driveways, if they got too many people living out of their
Yeah.
house, they
Well,
need
that's
to
fair.
extend their driveway,
Yeah.
just like they need to replace their sidewalk.
Yeah, but you can only extend your driveway so much.
Well, I got a 70-foot driveway.
Well, and I realize maybe I'm responding when maybe John normally does.
You're fine.
There's a spot on the town's website where, and I'm looking at it now, it says citizen engagement. If you've got an issue, click and you file a report.
I've tried that.
Well, I've done that twice on two different properties, and the two properties got cleaned up. So again, and I don't think it was because it was me that I'm on the council. I don't think that's what happened. They were known issues. Nobody had filed. In a perfect world, we would have a code enforcement officer. We don't. The police do that work now, and they respond when asked to, at least in my experience. But I think a lot of the times you could say, well, they ought to drive around town and find these things, and maybe they should. But I've found that they respond when you file that complaint. And if they don't, then that's probably something the council needs to look at and address. But in my limited experience, and I will, without saying what the properties are, I've filed 2 complaints in relatively short order. Both properties got cleaned up. Now, you know as well as I do, at least one of them's already edging back towards being a problem again. That's just the nature of people. But I have seen action from the police, and I've talked to Joe about it. I've talked to some of the other officers too. So if you haven't done that, I'd encourage you to do it. If you've done it, but if you've done it and nothing happens, this is the place to come and
I
say.
tried to do it, and as I went to submit it, it said something went wrong.
Oh, really? Well, I've like I say,
3 times in a row.
oh, and maybe we're having technical problems.
I don't want to be that guy. that says,
No, well,
hey, you need to mow your grass, you know? I mean, across the street from them, they got a storm door sitting there and some other junk sitting in the front yard.
Yeah.
You just mow around it and some weeds everywhere. Look across the street from Kmart, where the entrance to our town is, by the way, Tracy Road and 31.
From Kmart?
Not Kmart, I'm sorry.
I'm like, where?
We've got Kmart?
We have a new one.
Blue light specialist.
Well, I never did like Kmart.
But if you just look at that property straight across from Circle K, that's the entrance to our town. And there's like trees growing around the telephone poles, the things coming down, the bangers coming down to hold the telephone pole. They can't even get in their backyard because it's overgrown so much out in front, you know? And it's just ridiculous. And that's the entrance to our town. We ought to be doing something about that. You know, I mean, and as far as parking in the yard, I'm telling you right now, I would respect it if you would put something in there for that, because that's not right. You're not supposed to, in a neighborhood, you're not supposed to park in front of you. You want to put a sandbox in your backyard, I don't care. You want to put a fence up, I don't care. You park in your front yard, I care. You let your weeds grow, I care. The lady behind me, I got a swimming pool, and she's got a 150-foot tall silver maple. It's just destroying everything around. I'm just constantly picking up her sticks, trying to cut it back. Leaves in my pool, just constant. And there's just weeds going all the way around her backyard. And the backyard just keeps getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And what do you do?
I want to try to address something for you a little bit. You've seen what we've tried to do when we talk about raising your sewer rates and the wheel tax, things that have to be done, and we do our dead level best to, if we have to do something, keep it to a minimum, okay? And the thing I keep hearing, not only just here, but everywhere, is we're being taxed to death We don't have money to do things. And so to go back to what you were talking about sidewalks, okay? You know what it costs to do your sidewalk because you did do it. We've got a lot of young families out here that if we go to them and say, hey, okay, this is your responsibility, you have to fix it. It's $1,000. They're gonna tell us to go pound sand because they just don't have it. One of the reasons we don't have a code enforcement officer right now is because it was an expense. It was something the taxpayers, something else that the taxpayers had to pay for. And I will defy anybody, and I'm not directing this to you. We operate this town, and Angela, correct me if I'm wrong, 17 full-time employees, and stuff still gets done. You check with our neighbors, you check with anybody around us, and they're at least double that. Why? Because we understand that it's your money. And so what we try to do is try to do what you're asking and what you asked, Dee, about, cleaning up around in front of your house without being so restrictive that people are like, you guys suck, we want out of here. Now, will we take these and, because some of them are ridiculous. Some of the stuff that you're showing us. Yeah. I live right around the corner from the house that you're talking about there. There's another one at North Lane in Sweetbriar that when I drove by there today on my way over here, he's got the same 5 cars that were, but to say that nothing gets done, if you were to ask Lee, some of the people that have had to pay fines or have had to go and have, the town employees went and did a remediation on one. They went in and basically cleaned the guy's yard up and made him pay for it. So we do what we can without going overboard, I guess. And I would ask you to try what John said as far, and if there's an issue with it, let us know. We can help you with trying to.
I will try that. I just found that. I think that's a great addition to the site. Site's not the best of friend is, but it's a good addition.
I understand.
I
Right
was
there.
trying to find all the ordinances in the list, and I couldn't find the list of ordinances. I found a list of a bunch of titles and stuff.
Okay.
But that was it. And I searched pretty hard.
One,
But to what you're saying, some people can't afford it. I just can't afford it. I don't have the money. Well, if the furnace went out and they had $12,000 for a furnace, think they'd find the money for a furnace? It's what you want to find the money for.
I get that.
Everybody can find the money if they really want to. You might not be able to go down to Disney World with your 5 kids or whatever.
And I agree with you there.
But you
Absolutely.
can replace your sidewalk and stay home for vacation.
Here's one thing.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Here's one thing that I want to say about sidewalks, because I just spent $2,000 to have mine lifted. Okay. I did it not because of the unsightliness. I didn't want to get hurt. I didn't want exactly the things that you were talking about.
Safety issue.
But with that safety issue, because a lot of them are not town sidewalks, that's a heavy liability issue for a homeowner. Okay, that was not my primary driving force, but I was cognizant when I saw it doing what it was doing, becoming uneven. You've seen them jack up like that. I was cognizant there. Yes, I'm also liable for that. And so, yeah, it does bother me because I try to run and I look at other sidewalks and I'm like, oh my God, I paid $2,000.
I'll tell you what bothered me was when you guys went around and you did fix some of them really bad ones in our area. But you didn't make anybody take that tree down. Well, what's gonna happen? It's just gonna break it again. Some of them you actually did one of these numbers, but it's just gonna break again. The tree needs to come out there. Should not be a tree there. I know when you did the park over there, Rain Tree, you guys took out a lot of trees, especially over there on the other road. Whatever it is. And, I think that's the kind of issues I see that, why did we do that? We spent all this money to replace this, tear out this old sidewalk that's opened up from roots, and then pour right over the top of the roots. Take it out.
I will say in the last 12 months, I've processed a lot more ordinance violation payments. I've seen a lot come through, so I mean, yeah, there's stuff that needs fixed, but I mean, they're giving out violations because we're getting payments for them.
Yeah, and I have no idea what you're drawing in or you're putting out there notice-wise, I don't know. But from what I see, it's not enough. I'm not gonna say you're not doing anything. I know you're doing stuff. The parks are fantastic, they really are. The roads that you've redone, the curves over there by the park, it's fantastic, it looks great. And you know what, you did that, and look what all the houses down through there did. They all fixed up their front yards, put porches on the front, you know, painted their house up, or resided it, they fixed them up. Because hey, this looks nice, you know, that's what we need to work towards.
Well,
I
and
want to see more done.
sorry.
It's really gotten bad to where it's not getting better, no matter how many you do right now. It's not enough. There's just too much. And the worst one is like on the corner. That's terrible. That's our entrance to our town. That needs to be addressed.
I have a question on that line of the fines and so forth, and however you guys determine and say you give it a chance and you don't do it, then you get a fine of some sort. Because it appears that there's a lot of rentals in our community, and I don't know, I'm just saying it appears. Do you find the renter, or do you find the owner slash, at that point, I look at the slumlords, so if they're not caring, the renter's not taking care of their property, I look at the slumlords.
I know that's been a question, and I
Either,
think it goes,
either or both.
yeah.
I didn't know if maybe that was the issue that, you know, maybe the landowner was getting the fine, and today it's $50, tomorrow it's $200, you know, and it just keeps going up. It's somewhere, if I owned a home and was having property, one, I didn't have that issue. But if I'm getting fined, guess what? You don't get taken care of, you're getting a 30-day eviction notice.
Here's,
I mean, things like, but that's not for you guys to just,
No.
I just didn't know who got those fines.
here's the problem that we face with that, because I agree with you. I have a rental property behind me, and the gentleman that lives there now, I couldn't ask for a better neighbor. The people the two that have been there prior to, I know the last ones, they cut their grass once last summer. And the problem is, they're owned by this big company out of California that doesn't care. And, oh, you got a $50 or I got a $50 ticket because you didn't cut your grass. Well, here, you're paying me $50. And as long as they get their money, they don't care. And to go on about a little bit about what you were saying, we have people that have learned how to play the game. Okay, and if Joe was here now, he would tell you this. And because we face the same thing with our sewer bills. Okay, everybody knows when the cutoff is, and they know that, oh, well, I got a $50 fine. Okay, I'll clean it up, and I have until this time where they're going to fine me again. I know Lee's been working on fine tuning that to where there's a time frame to where, okay, if you get some, you know, this one's $50 and the next one's not going to be 50, it's going to be substantially more because obviously we're not getting your attention. Because that's exactly what we're trying to do. We don't want to be punitive. I don't care about the money. I would rather you clean up your yard.
Exactly. I'm with you.
And so that's, I know we have Officer Volley right behind you, and I think he had something he wanted to say in regards to that. So.
I was gonna say to you about the link that's on the town page, it works, because I've been in the chief's office when they've come in, so I know it works.
I just had a bad experience with it.
It's what it sounds like to me, I'm trying to pass it
That was
on.
probably a glitch.
But I would also say, call the department, come and sit on top of the chief. Because I think,
before.
oh, have you? I was gonna say, because he might be able to give you some better answers, or I should say better answers, different answers than what the town council, because that's the typical spirit of this.
Right.
So,
Appreciate it.
Trying to give you some options, and, I can actually send out a message about the speakers and stuff, where we can actually try and get people over there.
Well, I've actually offered to let you sit in my driveway. I mean, I'm fine with that. And I'm telling you right now, you wanna bring some money into the town, sit in my driveway.
Come sit on Sawmill Road. There it is.
I'm telling you, that's something that too.
Well, and I'm gonna tattle on my wife because she's not here. But that's one of the things that I hear from her more than anything is, why is it that when somebody's speeding down this road, there's never a police officer? The thing we have to remember, and probably 80% of the time, we have one officer on duty at a time. That's it. Again, we are one of the smallest departments for a reason. And if he's over at the other end of town and somebody's speeding down Sawmill, they're not going to catch him.
That's why they're speeding. There's no cover.
Okay, Kevin, 243 Linwood Drive, Kevin Terrick.
Can you
So-
repeat your address?
Yeah, 243 Linwood Drive. So, we're growing. When are you gonna get more police officers?
He's already asked.
He's already asked.
Yes.
When are you going to though?
Okay, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier. All right? Because here's...
I already heard that. You don't need to repeat that. What I want to know is, since we're growing exponentially, and I agree with this man here, because I have a truck that's been parked on the street, and I'm a long-term citizen too that's been living here, and even my neighbors that say, wow, I remember the day when I parked out on the street between 2 and 5 a.m. I woke up with a ticket. I literally watched a piece of crap truck sit in front of the home across from me for a solid week without a warning, without nothing. And you know what happened today? Joe went there and slapped a sticker on it because I came to see him. I came here yesterday to talk to the town hall, say, what can be done? You know what they did? Dismissed me. Horrible employee in there at the window. Horrible.
Which window?
The one that you come into.
No,
There's an elderly woman, very dismissive.
Police department window or...
The
Okay.
town hall, very dismissive.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
If you had an issue like that, I don't know if you're aware, you can go right into and talk to somebody at the police department.
I will.
Okay.
I will.
You can.
Because that's ridiculous. You know, we sit here and we do pay our taxes, and you guys are going to enact more taxes. And I'm gonna say, I don't want wheel tax. I don't want that. But you guys will enact it. I already know that for fact. But the fact is, we also need to go ahead and get some people to be ready for when there's a bevy of new people coming in here and they have no idea that we have a no parking between 2 and 5 a.m. and they're gonna do what they want. They're gonna bring their ways and whatnot with them. That's fine, but you have to educate. They said, oh, there was a night out last night. I'm sure you all were there. And the fact of the matter is, I didn't even know it was happening. Years ago, they used to have signs all up and down saying, hey, night out, you know, there's a night out. You guys don't do that, so probably it's too costly to.
Okay.
you know.
Okay. Let me step in here just a second. Okay. We did not do the National Night Out. That was put on by the Clark Pleasant Police Department, our department and fire department, and Whiteland's Police and Fire. We have always done our own. This is the first year. I wasn't there. Was it second year? I wasn't there because I didn't know about it. Okay? I'm right there with you. That's going to be a discussion because I already had that discussion with Deputy Chief Brooks tonight and said, you know, we need to go back and do our own because...
This man here, he's been here 40 odd years, he probably remembers when you guys used to have a circus come in.
Mhm.
You know,
We
well,
did-
the town's gone, it's beyond that, I mean, I get that. Old timers, we know these things. But I'm telling you, they need more people, because that tells me they probably didn't come down the Linwood Drive for a solid week at night doing any patrol, because if they had, I'm sure they probably would have said, oh, wow, look at that vehicle, it's 3:30 a.m. Bloop. I'm gonna put a little note on that. Nope, solid week goes by.
Okay, that's something
So,
that can be
yeah, well,
handled.
that just letting you know.
That can be
how
handled.
well that's gonna be, I mean, it's just ridiculous.
But again, like I said, you add more people, it costs more money.
Fine.
Good, can I address that?
Yeah.
So, and I'm not really on government, what they do and how the money's spread out from counties to states, whatever. So, we've added several cornfields full of houses. And cornfields were paying $600 a year in taxes for 100 acres. Now you got 250 houses on that 100 acres or more. And they're paying over $2,000 per house. Where's that money going?
Good question, because that was the same thing when that development got ready to be built. My thinking was, wonderful. Now we don't have to raise things like that. It doesn't work that way. The way it was explained to us is there's a pie, okay? We always get the same amount of money no matter what. So we were thinking the same thing that you just said. Okay, we're gonna add all these houses. It's gonna be that much more coming in. Our increase for that subdivision, we're not even gonna take in enough to pay half of a police officer a year's salary.
The way that the state's tax structure is set up is that actually residential pays the least. It's 1%. 2% for agriculture, and then 3% for businesses. And so the thing of it is unless you're dealing with $1 million homes, really the tax money versus the amount it costs for goods and services. Okay, I'll give you a case in point. Over at the school corporation, they rely on something that's called ADM, which is annual average daily membership. So the more kids that come, the more money you get. The actual amount of new kids that are in the newest additions over there, the cost doesn't wash very well because we've got to do transportation, we've got to do all this, and those homes are not big money for the school corporation. So sometimes growth is a zero sum.
Yeah. If,
So why allow it?
I'm sorry.
So why allow it?
For keep expanding.
Well, for areas like the new subdivision, that was in Johnson County prior to us annexing. If we wouldn't have annexed it, the county could have built there, or the county could have approved the building. Whiteland, they could have asked Whiteland to annex them. And then we would have had absolutely no say about any of the building standards or anything. And it would have been up to somebody else to make that decision.
Yeah. I would encourage you, when we have the special meeting, the gentleman that's going to be here doing that is Adam Stone, and he is the absolute expert on the things that you guys are discussing. And I know that that's not going to be the actual topic of the meeting, but those are things that if you wanted to talk to him maybe afterwards, I guarantee he would take the time and explain to you, because that's a great question. What you asked about, we're building all this, but we're not, we were the same way. I was dumbfounded when he said, here's what you can expect. We all were. So.
I'm gonna say when you guys, when across the road from me, all that over there, you know I was against it. more because we're losing our green space. I've lost all my deer, I've lost my owls, I've lost my coyotes, I lost my wolves. I'm still not fond of it, but I will say, because I came to a lot of those meetings, heard so many of the things that was going on, and you guys, which most people may not realize, you guys put some restraints, is for lack of words, on those builders, because you have so many of them that will be rentals, so many of them that can be corporate owned, so you're not having the people in California. So a lot of people may not know that you guys did that, because look around you.
Well,
But I wanna say, when you guys was going through that, of all the headaches and all the stuff that was going on, I think you did a great job, even though I don't like it. You tried to make sure that the town, and maybe those that are along the road there that have to look at it, you tried to think of those things. And I applaud you for that. I think you did a great job on that, because had it gone to Johnson County, had it gone to Whiteland, would we
don't know.
had that, or would we have more corporate owned and renters and all
And I appreciate you saying that, and I appreciate you coming to the meetings, because I think when you do that, you see the discussions that happen, and you realize none of this stuff's arbitrary.
No.
And you know, if the two of you, we're gonna have a budget meeting in September, I think it's already on the calendar. Come to the budget meeting, see the numbers, and say, we need 5 more cops. Find it in the budget. The money's not there. It's not that we're saying, well, we're gonna sit on a big pile of cash and we're not gonna hire a police officer. Come look at the budget. If you can find a way to say, well, cut that out and put a police officer in, we'll talk about it. They're public meetings. So there's not an unlimited pile of cash.
So did you get rid of your compliance officer?
Our
Or did
compliance
that
officer
person
left.
quit?
Our compliance officer
No, he left. He got a similar job making more money
So
where
you
he
saved
lived.
that- You
He-
saved that salary, correct, or did you give it to the remaining officers as a raise or something?
Most of that actually got given to the police officers just because we were one of the lowest paid departments in the county. And just to be honest with you, we felt at some point, we felt like a farm club.
Yeah.
Okay, because we would bring the guys in, put them through all their training, this and that.
Paid for all of it.
And then the neighbors, well, they're offering $20,000 a year more.
Street to Whiteland.
Yeah.
A lot of our guys would get trained here and go across the street to Whiteland, make
Yeah.
10 grand
So
more.
they benefited.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's my point. It's easy to be angry, and I understand that. But if
I'm
you
not
come to
angry,
the,
I'm more very concerned.
well, it's easy to be very concerned. But I think if you come to the meetings and you see what happens and the way we make decisions, you'll realize none of this stuff's arbitrary. We're trying to take the resources that we have and apply them the best way we possibly can, and that means a lot of things don't get done. And, you know, the sidewalks, you can say, well, we ought to spend $10 million, $20 million and go through town and fix every sidewalk. Okay, what are we gonna cut? You know, there's only so much money, and yeah, we've got police officers, we've got fire department, we've got roads and streets, we've got the wastewater treatment plant. You just saw us spend $4.5 million in the wastewater treatment plant, but we spent $1 million out of reserves to try and keep the prices, or to keep the rates down.
Storms came through, who's responsible for fixing the fence? Is it under an insurance?
I missed what you asked.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
The storm that came through that
Oh.
moved the nice fence down, is that going to be, you don't?
I assume that's an insurance.
That's-
I haven't asked.
So it's not owned by the town, that is actually, that was part of their doing when they, and I'm the utility superintendent, so, that was part of their doing when they did that development, that they did not allow a town to take the responsibility of that fence. It is the responsibility of the developer. Once it gets turned over to the neighborhood, it will be their HOA.
Is it because they have been posted?
It'll be like that, so.
Right now, there's actually the fence company started, was it early this week? Yeah. Is back out there to make.
It looked nice, and it was sad, but the storm
Yes.
knocked it down.
That was the second time to be.
Oh, was it?
So, but yes, it's not the responsibility.
I wondered, yeah, I kind of was saddened that it fell down, it was so nice looking.
So when you're talking about, I know you brought it up before, as prior meetings years ago, that you talked about getting the code enforcer part-time.
we've kicked it around, but again,
What do you have to do to have a volunteer to?
I don't know. It's never, nobody's ever volunteered. But well, before we commit to something like that, let us research, because there could be liabilities. Yeah, there could be liabilities and things like that. We don't want to put somebody out there that if you did say, or you know, you gave somebody a ticket, because you'd have to be able to give a ticket. And so there's different things, but yeah, that there's no reason at all why we can't investigate and see what we can do.
I'd be concerned about a volunteer for the liability reasons, not only for the town, but for you.
Yeah,
Because you know,
absolutely.
some of the folks you approach, they're not going to be happy about being approached, and it can get out of hand.
Yeah.
One of the things I like about the police officers doing is they know where that line is, and they can handle it if something comes
I think
unglued.
the volunteer I'm talking about is going around, finding the places, writing them down, writing the address down, take the picture.
I'd encourage you to do that.
And then go to the police and say, hey, I need you to go with me.
Yeah, I'd encourage. Well, they're not going to want to go with you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Or they can just go.
Well,
Yeah.
but I would say
They will do that.
Yeah, do
Yeah,
those
you can do
things
that
and add
now.
into the system.
You can, I mean, like with this right here that you gave us tonight, this is great.
Yeah.
And if the only thing that I would do in addition, if it had an address, just so that,
I just didn't know if that was
Sure.
proper to do that.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
And like I say, unfortunately, I think what you're going to find and hear from Joe is the ordinance doesn't say you can't park in your yard.
Yeah.
I don't like that either. But, you know, families, I've got 3 kids. At one point, we had 5 cars, probably had 6 cars. Only 4 will fit in the driveway, you know, and I never parked it in the yard. That's not what I mean. But to say, to say you can't park in the road, you can't park in your yard, there's going to be a lot of folks that they've got two slots in their driveway and they've got kids that are driving too. That's hard.
You understand where you can put cars if you got too many people in your house?
Yeah, you're getting
You
more.
got a double
She's getting
wide
more,
driveway,
yeah.
and She put 6 cars in.
Yeah.
Barely. I mean, we make it work, but
That's what I mean, they added on, they needed more space, so they fixed that space. They did away with going on a vacation or something to pay that $5,000 for that.
I'd go back to what I said. I'd encourage you to each one of these. Like I say, the car in the yard, I think you're going to find that's not against code. But the ones that are, enter them in.
Yeah.
I think you'll find the police, in my experience, police have been responsive. And if they're not, then let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Was there an ordinance still in effect that said, like, if you wanted to expand your driveway, that you can't put gravel anymore?
Right.
Is that right?
If you have gravel already, it's grandfathered, you can improve it, but you can't expand it.
Okay, so corner, Moreland, Glenwood. House sits on the corner, Blacktop Drive. People are in there now, and they park a big, like 18-wheeler flatbed. What did they do? They stripped all the dirt out, they put in crushed rock, and put their, surely somebody sees that from the town, and now there's nothing, I mean.
Yeah, I agree with that, there's a lot of gravel.
That
was put in place 20
I didn't
years
see
ago.
any permit up saying it was, it was being done. I had a driveway put in many years ago. People came out from the town and said, hey, we wanna make sure the water runs off properly, we wanna make sure this happens and that happens. And now, everybody new coming into town just says, I can do what I want, because maybe they don't care, maybe they don't want to know what's legal, what's not. But again, there's ordinances, and I don't know why you vote on ordinances when nobody oversees and makes sure that they're adhered to. I really don't, I think it's funny. If this guy wants to go around and start handing out tickets volunteer, I'm just backup. I'll be right there. I told that.
Like I say, you guys can do that now and just report it to the police department and they'll take care of it.
Well,
So.
I have been.
Okay.
That's what I was just gonna ask, how well is this site, because I just seen that too, I didn't know. Help improve your community, report an issue. I seen that, I said, oh, wow, well, look at that.
Yeah, I like
So
that.
how, I was gonna ask about that and say, who then sees this out of the town? And then how many days does it take before you get a response?
Well, I think the officer said the ones about codes go to Joe. I don't know how they get routed, but the two
There's a lot. Oh, look at that sidewalk issue. Oh, I guess then if we hit sidewalk issue there, you would just go to the homeowner and say, please repair the sidewalk. It's your responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna find out where all the bad sidewalks are and make sure I send it all to you guys.
Okay. Anyone else?
I have one thought, we're just hearing, some of the things that are taking place. Do you guys, when somebody new comes to town, they have to come down, to the office?
Yes, they get a move-in packet.
Okay, I will say this for a fact, I moved in 6 years ago. When I came to do all my stuff for my home, I did not get a packet.
Well, I can't address 6 years ago.
Well, no, I'm just
I
saying.
know that's what happened, because I was talking to Cindy about that,
Okay. So there is
actually just a couple
something
weeks ago, but she said, yes, there is a move-in packet. I forget what the context,
It gets mailed, I don't think it gets handed to you, I think they mail it out.
okay.
Because
So-
I had to go look and, so I knew, my daughter and son-in-law told me a lot, but
Yeah.
I just didn't know that there was.
Yeah, they do get something.
Yeah.
Being no other business, we are adjourned. Okay.
I had some more stuff to talk about.